Imagine two people caught in a raging river. The Buddhist swims against the current, training their mind to endure the struggle, hoping to reach still waters one day. The Taoist? They stop fighting, lean back, and let the river carry them. Which approach actually leads to peace? Do we need to fight against suffering, or are we the ones creating it in the first place? What if struggling for peace is exactly what keeps you from finding it? Today we are putting these two ancient paths head to head, and by the end, you might just realize which one was meant for you all along. Chapter number 1. The Path to Enlightenment. Effort versus Effortlessness. Buddhism teaches that suffering is the fundamental truth of life. You are born, you experience pain, you lose what you love, and eventually you die. The only way to escape this cycle: discipline, meditation, detachment from everything that ties you to the physical world. Taoism sees things differently. It does not say life is suffering. It says suffering happens when we resist the natural flow of life. Instead of forcing change, Taoism teaches acceptance, adaptation, moving with life, not against it. Buddhism gives you a roadmap. It tells you exactly what to do: meditate, follow the Eightfold Path, work toward enlightenment. Taoism does not give you strict rules. It simply asks, why fight? Why not just flow? So which one leads to peace? Is true freedom found in strict discipline or in letting go of control? To answer that, we need to look deeper at Buddhism's approach. Does detachment really bring happiness, or does it take something important away? Let's find out. Chapter number 2. Buddhism and the Pursuit of Detachment. Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of all suffering. The things you love, they will change. The people you cherish, they will leave or fade away. If you cling to anything, money, relationships, even your own identity, you are setting yourself up for pain. The solution? Detachment. Let go of desires. Release expectations. Train your mind through meditation and discipline until you reach a state where nothing can shake your inner peace. In theory, this sounds like the ultimate freedom. If nothing can touch you emotionally, nothing can hurt you. But here's the question. Does detachment really make you happier, or does it make you numb? Can you truly enjoy life if you are constantly reminding yourself not to get attached to it? Does distancing yourself from emotions protect you, or does it rob you of the very things that make life meaningful? This is where Taoism takes a different path. Instead of rejecting emotions and desires, it asks, what if peace is not about letting go, but about learning how to flow with them? Let's see what that looks like. Chapter 3. Taoism and the Art of Flowing with Life. While Buddhism seeks to overcome suffering through discipline and detachment, Taoism asks a different question. What if peace is not something you achieve, but something you return to? Instead of resisting the natural flow of life, Taoism teaches that true harmony comes from moving with it. This idea is rooted in the central concept of Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action. But Wu Wei does not mean laziness, passivity, or inaction. Instead, it describes a state in which one acts in perfect harmony with the natural rhythms of life, without force or resistance. Laozi, the foundational figure of Taoism, describes it in the Tao Te Ching. The highest virtue is to act without striving. The sage does not force things to happen, yet everything falls into place. Taoism does not tell you to detach from the world. It tells you to become one with it. Instead of suppressing emotions, it teaches you to let them pass naturally, like clouds drifting through the sky. Instead of fighting change, it teaches you to adapt to it, like water, finding its way through any obstacle. The concept of ziran, or naturalness, is another key idea in Taoist philosophy. It emphasizes the importance of returning to our original nature before social conditioning, before rigid beliefs, before we started trying to control everything around us. The Taoist sage does not seek to dominate life, but to align with it. As Chuang-Tzu, one of Taoism's greatest philosophers, explains, flow with whatever may happen and let your mind be free. Stay centered by accepting whatever you are doing. This is the ultimate. Modern psychology even supports this concept. Flow states, the feeling of being in the zone where actions feel effortless and time disappears, are deeply connected to Wu Wei. Athletes, artists, and musicians describe moments where everything clicks into place without force or overthinking. This is exactly what Taoism describes, the power of moving with life instead of against it. But here is where Taoism challenges conventional wisdom. Many philosophies, including Buddhism, see suffering as something to be eliminated, conquered, or transcended. Taoism does not. It sees suffering as part of the natural ebb and flow of existence, no different from joy, love, or loss. To the Taoist, trying to escape suffering is like trying to escape the changing seasons. You cannot stop winter from coming, but you can learn how to live peacefully within it. So, which approach is more effective? Is peace something we must fight for, or is it something we find when we stop fighting altogether? Before answering that, we need to address one major criticism of Taoism. If Taoism tells us to go with the flow, does that mean we should just accept everything? What about ambition, progress, or the desire to improve? Let's dive into that next. Chapter 4. Does Taoism promote passivity? The truth about Wu Wei at this point, you might be wondering, if Taoism teaches us to go with the flow, does that mean we should just accept everything as it is? If we do not strive, does that mean we stop growing, stop improving, stop taking action altogether? This is one of the biggest misunderstandings about Taoism. Wu Wei, often translated as non-action, does not mean doing nothing. It means doing nothing unnecessary. It is not laziness. It is alignment. Laozi explains this in the Tao Te Ching. The Tao never acts, yet nothing is left undone. At first, this seems like a contradiction. How can you take no action and still get everything done? But if you look deeper, you will. See that Wu Wei is about effortless effectiveness, acting in perfect harmony with the moment, rather than forcing things to happen. Take an athlete in peak form. When they are in the zone, they are not thinking about every movement. They are not overanalyzing, hesitating, or forcing themselves. Their actions flow naturally, instinctively. This is Wu Wei in motion. Or think about a musician playing a song they have mastered. Their hands move effortlessly, without strain, without overthinking. The moment they start forcing, the flow is broken. Wu Wei is the difference between forcing success and allowing success to happen naturally. It is not about inaction, it is about the right action, taken at the right time, with the least resistance. But what about ambition? What about striving for something greater? Does Taoism tell us to let go of all goals? Not exactly. Taoism does not reject ambition. It rejects attachment to ambition. There is nothing wrong with wanting to improve, grow, or achieve. The problem comes when we start forcing success, pushing against reality, instead of working with it. This is why Taoism teaches patience and timing. In nature, things grow at their own pace. You cannot make a tree grow faster by pulling on its branches. Chuang-Tzu, one of Taoism's greatest thinkers, put it this way: happiness is the absence of the striving for happiness. This is where Taoism departs from philosophies that emphasize willpower and discipline as the primary forces of change. Taoism teaches that when you stop struggling so much, things begin to fall into place naturally. So, does Taoism mean giving up? Not at all. It means understanding when to act and when to step back, when to push and when to let things unfold. It means being in harmony with life, rather than constantly at war with it. This idea challenges a lot of what we are taught in the modern world. But there is another way that Taoism breaks from conventional wisdom. Unlike Buddhism, which teaches detachment from emotions, Taoism has a very different approach, and that is exactly what we will explore next. Chapter 5, Taoism versus Buddhism on emotions. Should we let go or flow with them? Buddhism teaches that emotions, especially desire, attachment, and suffering, are obstacles on the path to enlightenment. The goal is to rise above them, to detach from the highs and lows of life, so they no longer control you. Taoism takes a different approach. It does not tell you to suppress emotions or eliminate them. Instead, it teaches you to flow with them, just as you would with anything else in life. Think about anger, sadness, or joy. In Buddhism, these are seen as impermanent illusions, distractions from the ultimate goal of transcendence. Taoism, on the other hand, sees them as natural parts of existence, neither good nor bad, just temporary waves passing through. Laozi expresses this beautifully in the Tao Te Ching. When joy comes, accept it. When sorrow comes, accept it. Do not cling to either, for both will pass like the seasons. Imagine trying to fight sadness. The more you resist it, the stronger it becomes. The more you tell yourself, I shouldn't feel this way, the more stuck you become. Taoism teaches that instead of resisting emotions, we should experience them fully, but without attachment. This idea is similar to what modern psychology calls emotional agility, the ability to feel emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Research in mindfulness-based therapies even supports this approach, showing that those who allow emotions to come and go without resistance tend to be more resilient and mentally balanced. Chuang Tzu, the Taoist philosopher, takes this idea further. Flow with whatever may happen and let your mind be free. He is not saying to ignore suffering or pretend everything is fine. He is saying that peace comes when we stop trying to control emotions and simply let them move through us. This is a fundamental difference between Taoism and Buddhism. Buddhism aims to transcend emotions. Taoism aims to move with them. So, which approach actually leads to more peace? Do we find freedom by rising above emotions or by allowing them to be what they are? Before we answer that, there is one last crucial distinction between these two paths. It has to do with how they view the self. Is inner peace about letting go of identity or embracing it? Chapter 6, The Self. Should we let go of who we are or embrace it? One of the most profound differences between Buddhism and Taoism lies in how they view the self. Buddhism teaches that the self is an illusion. According to the doctrine of anatta, or no self, what we think of as our identity, our thoughts, desires, and personality, is just a collection of fleeting experiences. The ultimate goal is to transcend the ego, to dissolve the false sense of I, so that we no longer cling to an individual identity. Taoism, however, does not deny the self. Instead, it teaches that the self is part of the greater flow of nature. Rather than seeking to erase individuality, Taoism encourages us to align with our true nature, to live authentically in harmony with who we already are. Laozi captures this perfectly in the Tao Te Ching. When you let go of what you think you should be, you become what you truly are. This is where Taoism and Buddhism fundamentally diverge. Buddhism says freedom comes from dissolving the self. Taoism says freedom comes from embracing it, but without force or resistance. Think about a river. In Buddhism, the goal is to merge with the vast ocean, to lose the sense of individuality and become one with the whole. In Taoism, the river is still part of nature, but it has its own unique path, its own flow, its own way of moving through the world. It does not resist, but it does not dissolve either. This idea is incredibly powerful in the modern world where people are constantly told to improve themselves, to change, to become something else. Taoism suggests a radical alternative. Instead, of endlessly striving to be something different. Why not flow with who you already are? But this raises an important question. If Taoism encourages us to accept life as it is, does that mean we should never seek to change anything? Should we just surrender to fate? Let's break that down next. Chapter 7. Fate versus Free Will. Should we accept life or try to change it? If Taoism teaches us to flow with life, does that mean we should never try to change our circumstances? Should we just accept everything as it is, good or bad, and never take action? This is a common misunderstanding. Taoism is not about blind acceptance. It is about knowing when to act and when to let go. Buddhism, in many ways, embraces a similar idea. The doctrine of karma suggests that our past actions shape our present reality, and by following the right path, we can influence what happens next. But Buddhism ultimately sees worldly life as a cycle to be escaped. The goal is to transcend suffering, to break free from attachment, and to reach nirvana, a state beyond this world. Taoism takes a more earthly approach. It does not tell us to escape life. It tells us to live it fully but wisely. Instead of forcing change, Taoism teaches us to move with the natural rhythms of the world, much like a skilled sailor adjusting their sails to the direction of the wind. Laozi describes this beautifully in the Tao Te Ching. Those who flow as life flows know they need no other force. This does not mean doing nothing. It means learning to act at the right time, in the right way, with the least resistance. In Taoist philosophy, this is known as Wu Wei, not passive acceptance, but effortless effectiveness. A tree does not resist the seasons. It does not try to stop winter or force summer to arrive early. But when the time is right, it grows. It sheds its leaves when necessary and blooms when the conditions are right. This is how Taoism sees change, not something to force, but something to move with. This idea can be applied to every part of life: career, relationships, personal growth. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to control everything, Taoism suggests a different approach. Observe the natural flow of events, recognize the right moment to act, and move in harmony with what is already happening. So does Taoism mean we should never fight against injustice or try to improve the world? Not at all. It simply means that struggling blindly is ineffective. True change happens when we understand the forces at play and move in alignment with them. And this is where Taoism offers something truly unique, a way to live fully in the outer world without being consumed by it. Unlike Buddhism, which seeks to transcend worldly life, Taoism finds peace within it, which brings us to the final question: which path is actually better for finding true peace? Let's bring it all together. Chapter 8. Which path actually leads to true peace? So after everything we have explored, detachment versus flow, discipline versus harmony, transcending the self versus embracing it, which philosophy actually brings the deepest peace? Buddhism offers a structured path. It gives you clear guidelines: meditate, detach, follow the Eightfold Path, and one day you may reach nirvana, free from suffering. It is a powerful, disciplined approach that has transformed millions of lives. But it is also demanding. It requires effort, self-denial, and a willingness to detach from the things that most people cherish: relationships, desires, personal identity. Some find this liberating. Others find it restrictive. Taoism, on the other hand, says peace is already here. Stop fighting, stop resisting, and let life move through you. It does not ask you to withdraw from the world, but to exist within it, fully, effortlessly, without struggle. Psychologically, modern research supports many of these Taoist ideas. Studies on flow states show that people experience the most happiness and fulfillment not when they are detaching from life, but when they are fully immersed in it in a way that feels natural and unforced. Taoism mirrors this concept. True. Peace comes not from escaping life, but from being completely at one with it. So which path is better? The truth is, there is no single answer. Some people thrive with Buddhism's discipline and structure. Others resonate with Taoism's natural flow. It depends on your personality, your struggles, and what feels right to you. But here's what we can take away from this. If you find yourself exhausted from always striving, always pushing, always forcing, Taoism might be the path you need. If you struggle with attachment, if your emotions control you, if you feel trapped by desires, Buddhism might provide the structure to help you let go. The key is understanding yourself. Both philosophies offer powerful insights, but the right one is the one that helps you find balance. So, what do you think? Which philosophy resonates more with you? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you want to dive deeper into Taoist wisdom and how it can transform your life, make sure to subscribe. There is so much more to explore. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the greatest peace comes not from striving, but from simply letting go.